Welcome, mentors, to the 2019 Junior Achievement Titan Challenge. We're excited for you to participate this year. We have a couple of tips and tricks to share with you before the big day on February 27th. My name is Jenna Jeffrey, and I am the Marketing and Events Coordinator for Junior Achievement.
And I'm Kevin Heatley from Gorham Savings Bank.
This year's Titan Challenge is Wednesday, February 27th, and a little bit of background about what the competition actually is. It's an online business simulation competition. So students are put into the roles of certain business administrators to make decisions about how to run a business and price a product throughout certain markets. There are 7 locations across the state with over 300 high school students participating. A brief overview of the agenda is that registration starts at about 8:15 at each of the locations. We'll have a welcome from the Junior Achievement Maine president that will be broadcast to all 7 locations. And then each of the locations will also participate in an icebreaker to make sure that the mentors and students are able to connect and get to know each other before the competition begins. You can see the rest of the schedule there. There will be a practice round and then game time, followed by a statewide speaker and the awards. To touch a little bit more on the breakout session, it's hosted by Tyler Technologies, and it leads into the Maine App Challenge. So there'll be about 30 minutes where students and mentors will work together to come up with an idea for a phone application. They'll go through the brainstorming process, and they might ask you some questions about your own business experience throughout this 30-minute session. At the end of the session, they may or may not finish a final idea, but they can take home that work and submit it to the App Challenge by the deadline for an opportunity at more scholarship funding. In fact, last year's statewide winning student for the Maine App Challenge was also a Titan Challenge participant. An overview of the product that the students will be selling during this simulation is called a holo generator. It's a futuristic handheld video conferencing device. Each of the teams are made of 3 high school students matched with 1 mentor, and you'll guide them through the decision-making process of pricing their product in market.
Now the scoring is going to be handled this way. So there's a overall scoring product called the Performance Index, and that's made up of 6 different indices, including retained earnings, which is half of the performance index. So that's the biggest thing, is you just want to have good earnings, good to great earnings. And the rest of those that you see there, supply potential, demand potential, productivity, market share, and growth, are all 1/10 of the performance index. And just to go through them briefly, the retained earnings, like I said, the net profit to date. And then supply potential is that share of total production capacity that you're going to have for your company. And productivity is your efficiency in the company's operations, while demand potential is the share of total marketing and R&D expenditures. Market share is your unit market share in the industry in your current period. And growth is when you compare your sales growth to the industry sales growth. And we'll get into the industry piece in just a moment, but that's how we're going to set up the performance index, and that's how the students and the teams will be graded, if you will, for the day.
Once the students arrive at their location, there'll be a table tent in front of them with their team name on it. It will also include the website to the Titan Challenge and their username and password to sign into the game. So as soon as they arrive, they'll have access to the Wi-Fi, and they'll have all of this information to get into the game right there on their name tag.
So when they get that information, they're going to be going to their site that they're given, and this is where they're going to be logging in. We're using that username and password. Once they're logged in, they're going to be getting to a screen here that will show all the teams in that round they're going to be playing against at the bottom, and then there's a play game button at the top right-hand corner that they're going to be pressing to start the game when they're told to start. When they get into the game, there's going to be a dashboard that looks like this that's going to give them a lot of information as they go throughout the round. So what it is the round is set up by multiple quarters. So you think about just like a business quarter, and but the quarters in this case only last 2 to 3 minutes, as opposed to 3 months. So every quarter, they're going to be given more information about what's going on in their company, what's going on in the industry. they're going to want to grab as much of that information and understand what's going on as possible and adjust their company sales and growth and decisions they make based on that. So you have some information here that you can click on and read. And then at the bottom left-hand corner, you're going to see that's where their performance index that we talked about earlier, that's their score for that round. And above it are their rankings on that round compared to the other people in the industry. So we actually will have probably over 100 teams from around the state that are going to be competing. And those will all be broken up into what we call industries, which are 7 or 8 teams. And it'll be randomized, and you'll be playing against different teams at different rounds. And there'll be probably 6 rounds throughout the day. And so you'll see how your team's doing compared to the other teams in each round right there. And then across the top, you see some buttons that they can click to get some more information about the product and some analysis that's done based on how they're doing with their company. In the middle is where they're going to be entering their information that they're going to need to make decisions on every quarter. So, the first 2 kind of are self-explanatory, but they want to decide how much they're going to sell their unit for, their holographic generator, and then how many they're going to make. And then they're going to have to decide how much they want to spend on marketing, R&D, capital investments, and also charitable giving, because that's important to do in the community, get their name out there. So all those decisions have to be made every quarter, and then the submit button at the bottom there is where they click submit. Now you can do this as many times as you want, and then the last one that's submitted per quarter is going to be the one that's going to be taken. So the scoring is like this. So at the end of the round, like I mentioned, there's multiple rounds per day for the whole day. The highest performance index team gets 7 points, and then it goes down from there. It goes 6, 5, 4, and so on. And at the end of the day, we add up all the points from all the different rounds, and the team with the most points is the winner. If there is a tie, then we look at the second to last round's scores, their performance index, and actually the market share they have. So what percent of the market that team had in their industry in the second to last round.
So there are 7 locations across the state, like we mentioned earlier. You can see here from UNE Biddeford all the way up to UMaine Presque Isle. And there will be winners at each of those locations called regional winners. And those teams will win Amazon gift cards. And then there will be one team of 3 students that will be the statewide winning team, and they will receive scholarship funding. So it's a really exciting day, and the overall winner, it's important to practice because scholarships are on the line.
So a couple of tips here for you and for your team. Every team is going to be bringing with them a laptop and a power cord, so they can get logged into the Wi-Fi, as Jenna said, and get onto the game. Now they might have a second laptop, which is great. They're not required, but it's hopefully they will do that. And just like what happens in regular business, we might have some technology challenges, and we don't do this on purpose, but this is what happens sometimes since it is web-based. So sometimes the browser gets frozen. So all they need to do is close the browser and get back in. Sometimes that's all it takes. If they're in the middle of their game and their round, and all of a sudden they can't type into their decisions, they can just do that. Sometimes it takes more than that. They might need to reboot the computer and sign back in. Now, the important thing to know here is that even if they have to reboot the computer and the quarter only lasts 2 or 3 minutes, they're not out anything. They're not going to get kicked out of the game or anything like that. It's just going to take the last decisions that they had put in and use those going forward. So as long as the environment doesn't change too much, they should still be okay. They might not advance too much, or they may advance and not realize it based on their decisions they made.
A few tips that we can share with you is if the team goes bankrupt, it's just for that one round, so there's no need to panic. It can still work back up. And there's a fine line between telling the students what to do versus guiding them through the decision-making process. So being able to share your own work and life experience is important, but letting them make those final decisions themselves when it comes to the game. If you, in the beginning, develop and stick to your team's plan and the mission throughout the experience, it's helpful instead of making drastic changes as the game progresses to stay consistent.
One more thing about the bankrupt that I just want to add, every round that we go to is a fresh start. So, when they start every round, they have 100 PI, and then if they go bankrupt, they're out of that round. But the next round that starts at 100 PI again. So every round is fresh.
So that is our overview of the Titan Challenge Mentor experience. We will be sharing this with you, and you can reach out at any time with questions, and we will see you on February 27th.
Thank you.
Thank you.
10:13.